Hello everyone. I hope my screen is visible to all of you and I'm audible. So, in case you're facing any issues, please do drop it in the chat. So, so, I'm Ananya Ramkumar. I'm a solution expert from Zoho, and I've been providing customers with custom solutions for the past 1 year in Zoho Inventory. So today we're going to talk about automation in Zoho Inventory. I hope all of you are as excited as I am about this. So let's get started. And we also have my fellow colleague Darshan here in the showtime. So, in case you have any queries, please feel free to drop it in the chat box and he'll be addressing them. So, let's get started. So, what is automation and how does it help with your business exactly? So, automating certain processes, certain day to day tasks can help in improving your business efficiency and also help in eliminating certain human errors which occurs. So, what are the events that have occurred in the automation process? So, we have a trigger which will execute an action. So, to put it in simple words, let's say you're going to a supermarket. So, you're choosing all the items you want and you go to the billing section. And then you get this all your items billed and you purchase them. So, let's say in an online scenario, I want this to be automated, meaning every time I say raise a sales order, which acts as a trigger, an invoice is immediately raised and a payment is also made. So, which is the trigger here? So that is what automation means. So using automation, we'll be able to schedule emails, we'll be able to send internal in-app notifications and also update field values. Additionally, we'll also be able to perform technical operations involving custom functions, custom schedules, and webhooks. So going forward, I'll be explaining each of these actions with the help of workflow scenarios, and I'll also be showing you how it can be set up in Zoho Inventory. So initially, so let's assume I own a furniture company. So I want my packing in charge, the person who is in charge of packing all my items in which comes in for a sales order. I want them to receive an alert email saying that a sales order has been created in inventory and it has been approved. So I want this to occur automatically in Zoho Inventory. Let's see how this can be set up. So for setting this automation up, we'll be going to the Zoho Inventory dashboard and heading to the settings column. There, under settings, you'll be able to find the automation module. So here you have multiple automation actions which are listed. So first, we'll be seeing email alerts. So I'll be creating a new email alert. So I can name this according to my convenience. The module here would be a sales order module because I would want it to get triggered from the sales order module. So if you've already created a template, it would get listed here. Otherwise, you can create a new email template. So again, I can name it according to my convenience and also choose the from email address. The sender email address could be any user in my Zoho Inventory organization. So subject. Now under body, I'll be typing it out according to my convenience. Sorry. So here, let's say I want to display the sales order number or the sales order date. I cannot go to the template section and change it manually every time, right? So that's when we can make use of placeholders. So as you can see here, we have an option called insert placeholders, where you'll be able to find the fields which are listed under the sales order module. So let's say I want to say the sales order with the sales order number mentioned has been created and approved. Please proceed with packing. Once this is done, once all this is set up according to your convenience, you can click on save and select. So additionally, I also have the option of attaching my sales order PDF in this email if I want. So under recipients, if I wanted to go to a particular user, I can choose that. And since it's the sales order module, if I even wanted to go to the customer themselves, I can choose a contact email. But here, I wanted to go to a specific user. Also, if I wanted to go to I wanted to be sent to multiple users who all come under a single role, I can choose a role as well. So once that is set up, I'll be clicking on save. So the action part is set up. Next, we'll be going ahead with the trigger part. So for that, we'll be navigating to the workflow rules section, creating a new workflow rule for the sales order module again. So I want this to occur every time when it is created or edited. So before that, I would like to say there are two types of workflow rules. So when on occurrence of a particular event, I want something to happen, then we make use of event-based workflows. If I want it to occur on a frequency basis, based on time intervals, I can make use of date-based. So here, with a relative date in Zoho Inventory, I can set this up. And also I can define the time of execution and the cycle of execution, meaning if I want it to happen weekly, monthly, or yearly, or only once. So here we have to make use of event based. So every time it is created or edited, and when any field is updated. So next I'll be filtering the triggers. So here I would want this to happen only when my status is approved. And I would want this to happen only once. So once when it is edited and the status is approved, I would want this to get executed. So under immediate action, I'll be choosing email alerts and the template which I've already chosen. So on saving this, so let's head to the sales order module and create a sales order to check how this works. So I'm going to be choosing a customer and choosing an item. So once that is done, I'm going to click on save as draft and I'm going to submit this for approval. So once the sales order is approved, you can see that the status has changed to approved. Let me just hit a quick refresh. Now here under comments and history column, you would be able to see whether the workflow rule has been triggered. So you can see that it has been successfully executed. Now if I head to my email, just give me a moment. Just give me a moment, excuse me. So I believe there's a small problem from my end, but it would get executed and the email would be sent to the particular email. So going ahead with the next scenario, let's say I want to send an email alert to my billing team to alert them to start creating a bill for a purchase order when all the items are received. So for this again, we'll be going to the settings column under automation and email alerts. We'll be setting up the template according to our convenience for the module purchase order, and the recipients will be all the members of the role billing team. So once that is set up, we'll be navigating to the workflow rules and creating a workflow rule for the purchase order when the purchase order is created or edited. And the trigger here would be such that when the purchase received status is received. So the immediate action would be an email alert has to get triggered. Jumping to the next action. So field updates. So let's say my sales team wants to update a custom field in the customer module, which will mark the customer as a pending customer when the amount to be received back in total from the customer exceeds 1 lakh. So what are custom fields? So let's say I have some additional data which has to be stored in the module. In that case, custom fields can be used. So to create a custom field, we'll be navigating to settings, preferences, and going to the module of your choice, and under field customization, we'll be able to see the custom fields. So as you can see, I've already created a custom field here. So you can name it according to your convenience and choose the data type of your choice. So here I've chosen this as a checkbox. We also have the option of marking it as a mandatory field, and also if needed, we can display it in the customer portal. So once that is set up, we'll be going to the automation module again to set up a new field update. So for that, I'm naming it as marked as pending for the module customers, and I would be updating the pending field value as true. So for the workflow associated with it, I would want this to happen whenever a sales order is created or edited, and when the receivable value, as in the receivables, is more than 1 lakh, more than or equal to 1 lakh, and a field update occurs. Going to the next scenario, let's say my admin manager wants to update a custom field value in a purchase order, which mentions the type of the purchase order for only when it is for a specific vendor. Let's say my specific vendor's name is test customer A, and I want to update the type as type A. So for that, again, a custom field is created in the under preferences and purchase orders of the type drop down, and the values are predefined. So once that is done, I'll be heading to automation again, and under field updates, I'll be updating the type as type A for the purchase order module. And when we create a new workflow rule for the purchase order module, when the sales purchase order is created and when the vendor name is test vendor A, I would want the immediate action to be a field update. Going ahead with the next action, in-app notification. So let's say in my company, a bill gets accidentally deleted, and I am not aware of the bill, which bill got deleted here. So my purchase manager wants to receive an in-app notification every time a bill gets deleted. So for this, we'll be heading to the automation module and going to the in-app notification column. So here, I'll be naming it according to my convenience, and the module here would be bill. And the recipient, as mentioned earlier, would either be a user or multiple users in a single role. So even here in the message, we can make use of placeholder values. So once this is set up, I'll be heading to the workflow rules column again. Under the bill module, whenever a bill is deleted, I would want an immediate action of an in-app notification to get triggered. Next up, under in-app notifications, when my invoice team wants to receive an in-app notification to alert them to start creating an invoice when all the items in my sales orders are packed. So for this again, we'll be setting an in-app notification under the sales order module, and the recipients will be my invoice team with the custom message. Once that is done, I'll be heading to the workflow rules column. And when my sales order is created or edited, and when my package status is packed, an immediate action of an in-app notification is triggered. So right now, I would like to launch a quick poll for all of you and I would like to get to know your answer about this as well. So I can see a lot of answers are coming in right now. So thank you so much for all your responses. So let's go ahead with the So jumping on to the next scenario, next action item, webhooks. So far what we've talked about is just something which involves setting up an action in Zoho Inventory. So let's say I want to push data from Zoho Inventory to another application. So how would that be possible? So for that we can make use of webhooks. So webhooks would help in sending data out to any other application, basically creating a communication with any other third party platform. So for example, if my finance team wants to send an SMS to our customers every time an invoice is yet to be paid, even after a week of the expected payment date, or every time my billing team wants to send an invoice to our vendors to notify them that a payment has been made for the bills, as in the vendor invoice. So if I have a SMS gateway, I can push the data to my SMS gateway and trigger it such that this will occur, trigger it based on the occurrence, and that will get executed accordingly. So I'm going to just show how webhooks work with the help of a test webhook. So for that, we'll be navigating to webhooks under automation. So here, as you can see, I've just chosen the invoice module as an example and given a test webhook URL. So the URL to notify here would be the your third-party application URL. So we have different types of method. I know it might seem confusing, and if you guys are, if I have any developers here in the crowd, you would understand what this means. But to put it in simple terms, either if you want to create data or edit or delete data, we make use of these methods. So if I want to create, I make use of post. If I want to update or edit any data, I make use of put. And if I want to delete any data, as the name suggests itself, delete. And we have two types of authorizations. So connections, going forward, I'll be explaining what connections are in detail. And for self-authorization, in case you have any custom parameters such as authorization details, which involves auth tokens and API keys, you can make use of self-authorization. Additionally, we also have the option of appending all parameters, meaning sending out all the data from Zoho Inventory. Or if I just want to selected data, I can make use of append selected parameters. And here I would be able to choose a data of my choice and send it. So for now, I'm just going to choose append all parameters, and I'm going to manually execute it to show how it works. So I'm going to choose an invoice. So as you can see, the webhook has been triggered successfully. So if I go to the test webhook, you'll be able to see that the data has been pushed right now with all my invoice details. So similar as we had spoken before, if we set this up with the workflow rule, it will get triggered based on that action. Incoming webhooks. So we were talking about webhooks so far. So what do you think would be the difference between a webhook and an incoming webhook? So we are trying to push data from here to another application. We make use of webhooks. Let's say I'm trying to push data from another application and receive it in Zoho Inventory. That's when we can make use of incoming webhooks. So for that, we'll be sent, for example, let's say I have a store in BigCommerce and I have a webhook set up there as well. So every time a new item is created in BigCommerce, or every time a new customer is created in BigCommerce, I would want it to get created in Zoho Inventory simultaneously. So for that, we'll be navigating to the settings column again and going to developer space. Here you'll be able to see a separate module called incoming webhooks. So here we can write a custom logic to define what we'll be doing with the content which we receive from the third-party application, to direct what has to be done with that. So once that is set up, we'll be receiving an OAuth URL and a Z API URL. So using this URL will be the URL to notify in the case of in the third-party application. And you'll also be able to view the logs of whatever URL, whatever webhook has been triggered in the third-party application as well. Custom function. So when it comes to automation, custom function is something which is rather very important. So custom function makes use of Deluge, which is Zoho's own proprietary scripting language. So we'll be using this to write the code, and using that logic, we'll be able to aid the automation process. So I'm just going to list out certain common custom function requirements which we implemented over time. As you can see in the screen, you'll also be able to see all of these custom function scripts and the steps to be used to set this up under our GitHub repository. My colleague will be dropping the link to the GitHub repository in the chat. Please feel free to check it out. So the steps to be implemented when we are creating a custom function are as follows. So initially, I'll be writing a custom function script according to my logic, and then I'll be associating it with a workflow to set up the automation. So modules which are supported here would be involve the sales module, the purchase module, the contacts module, and other modules involving including the custom modules. So connections. So we had already seen connections under webhooks. So what are they? So connections are something which are basically used to connect Zoho Inventory with any application, including its own application, our own Zoho applications as well, to access data from multiple sources. So there are two types of connections in Zoho Inventory. One is predefined and the other is custom connection. So for predefined connections are basically certain third-party services which are already listed under the connection column. So you can click on the connection. And I'm going to just show you by creating a new Zoho Inventory connection. And we have this option called use credentials of login user. So let's say I've logged in as an admin user. So an admin would have unrestricted access to all modules. So whoever is making use of this connection can make use of that access. But if I have logged in as a user with restricted access to certain modules, I'll not be able to. So if any other user is using that connection, they'll not be able to use it. So normally we would recommend the admin user to either log in and create this connection, or we would recommend switching this off. So scopes are something, so as we have seen in the previous slide, there are multiple modules which can be accessed. So if you want to access certain modules, you can choose the module of your choice here. If you want to access all modules, you can make use of this scope, which is Zoho Inventory fullaccess.all. So once I create and connect this, I will be taken to the authentication page. And once it's authentication, this connection is free to use. The other type of connection is a custom connection. Let's say your third-party service is not listed in the default list category under predefined services. So for that, I can create a custom service. For that, I can name it according to my choice and also provide the authentication type. I have the option of giving it as an API key, an OAuth, or a basic authentication. So once that is set up, I can also give the authentication details under the parameter key name and values. So once the connection is set up, we can go ahead with the scenario. So let's say my invoice team wants to automatically create invoices and record payments only for online Shopify sales orders. So for this, first I'll be heading to the automation module again under custom function. I'll be creating a custom function for the sales order module and creating the logic using Deluge script. So once this is set up, I'll be heading to the workflow rules and setting up a workflow rule for this. So whenever my sales order is created or edited and when my status is open, I would want a custom function to get executed. Similarly, let's say my warehouse team wants to automatically send invoices to my customers once the shipment is fulfilled. So for that, we'll be writing a logic again under the sales order module, using connections as well to fetch or push the data, and then associating a rule which will, under the sales order module, when it is created or edited and when my shipment status is fulfilled, an immediate action, which is the custom function which we created, will get triggered. So let's say I don't want this to happen when an action gets executed based on a trigger. Let's say I want this to happen on a frequency basis at a specified time interval. That is when we can make use of custom schedules. So for custom schedules, we'll be making use of the same custom script, but defining the time basis of the task. So let's jump into the scenario. Let's say my sales rep wants to automatically receive an email with all the details of the items which in which will have the expiry date, meaning our tracked items in Zoho Inventory, and he wants to know which ones will expire in the following week. So for this, we'll be heading to the custom schedules column. So we have the option of choosing the frequency here as well. And then we can also choose on which days it will have to occur. And we can also choose on the specific time it has to, the time of occurrence of that event and the start date. So once the script is done, if you click on save, we don't have to set up a workflow rule here, and it will occur every week on a Monday. Similarly, looking at another requirement, let's say my shipment coordinator wants to receive an email at the end of every week on a Friday with the list of sales orders that are yet to be shipped. Similarly, we'll have the logic done written and set it up for a weekly base frequency, and the task will execute on a Friday at 7 p.m. Now, if I want a custom script to occur, but I don't want it to occur on a frequency basis or based on an action. I only want it to occur based on manual intervention. That's when we make use of custom buttons. So, looking at a scenario, let's see my invoice team wants to apply a 5% discount to selected invoices. So, for this, I'll be creating a custom button. For that, we'll be heading to the preferences section, and since it will be the invoice module here for this example, and I'll be heading to the custom button. So when we're creating a custom button, you can name it according to your convenience, and you can also choose the visibility. Additionally, we also have the option of choosing the location. Let's say I want it at the details page menu, meaning when I click on a particular transaction at the top right, I'll be able to view it. Or if I want it at the list act page menu where all the actions, all the transactions are listed at the top right, I'll be able to view it. Similarly, when I wanted to, I want to view this button under the bulk action menu, meaning upon selection of certain transactions at the top left, I'll be able to view the button. So looking back at our scenario, I'll be writing a custom script here as well. And once that is done, and in this case, it is a bulk action menu. Look, the location will be bulk action menu. Once this is saved, if I head back to the invoices column, and if I click on certain invoices, I'll be able to view the button here. Looking at another case, let's say my marketing manager wants to send an email to select customers to notify them regarding a marketing campaign. So similarly, under the contacts module, under the customers and vendors, I'll be able to select a custom button. Sorry, I'll be able to create a custom button, write the logic, and under the details page menu, I'll be able to find it. So if I head to my customer module and click on any particular customer, I'll be able to see the send mail button. Now, if I want to get redirected to an external application on click of a button, that's when I make use of custom links. So for example, my salesperson wants to get redirected to the respective contact in Zoho CRM when I click on a button in the contact module in Zoho Inventory. So for that, again, when we head to preferences, customers and vendors, under custom buttons, here when you click on plus new, you'll be able to find plus new, create new custom link. So I've just created a custom link here, and even here we'll be able to choose the visibility, and we can make use of placeholders in the URL to append any parameters of our choice. So when I head back to the customer module and click on a particular customer, here I'll be able to see the button which will redirect me to that link. So all the actions which we had specified earlier, let's say I want to view the log details of all those actions, I'll be able to see it under the workflow logs module. So for that, I can go to the settings, automation, workflow logs, and see the time of occurrence of all these events and the status of these events as well. So let's say I want to add additional records of data, and this data cannot be recorded in the predefined modules. That's when we can make use of custom modules. So for that, we can go to the preferences section, and if we scroll down, we'll be able to see a custom module. So when you click on plus, you can name it according to your choice, and using the field option, you can add any number of fields you wish to have a record of. Looking at a summarized use case. Now, let's say my company wants to, once an invoice is created for more than 10,000 rupees, my company wants to send an email alert to the customer to thank them regarding the purchase and update the field value, as in the payment terms, as net 45 for that particular invoice. And also, I have a custom module which has a record of all the data, including the invoice number, the customer name, and the receivable amount of that customer as of that date, as of the date of the invoice, a custom function which will execute the same, and an in-app notification which will alert my invoice team that an invoice has been raised for this customer, so that they can start charging them for the same or record the payment. I can have this all done under one particular use case. So once it is created and the total amount is more than or equal to 10,000, all these immediate actions will get triggered. So as I had mentioned earlier, you can always access our GitHub repository with a list of all the commonly used custom functions, which will have the script and the steps involved in setting it up. I know it might seem daunting and you might be confused, but I would certainly recommend that you try this all out on your own. And in case you're facing any hurdles or you have any doubts, please feel free to contact our support team, and we're always here to help you out. So thank you for this. So right now I'll be launching a quick poll, quick questionnaire. So we would like to know how much you've been able to, learn from this session. And going forward, we're planning on having curated and personalized, customized sessions for you. So based on your answers, we'll be able to, decide how to go ahead with that, and we'll be able to give you a curated session in the upcoming future.
Am I audible now? Are you guys able to hear me? Yeah, I was just saying, we would recommend you to take up the test that is popping up on your screen right now. This will allow us to curate our future webinars along the lines of automation, right? So it's a fairly technical, I mean, it's not too technical. It'll be a little technical. You can take up the questionnaire, and this will allow us to, curate future sessions for you. With that, we're all yours. If you have any questions, I would really recommend you to post it on the questions tab. And I can already see a lot of questions that has been answered by Darshan, but we would really recommend you to post more questions, and we'll be able to take it up. Ananya could take a few questions live as well. So Ananya, we have a question. Can we execute the automation if it fails? Will there be any duplications?
So in case it fails, we'll be able to manually execute the automation as well. So you'll be, as I mentioned earlier, under the workflow logs. So we'll be able to see the status of that execution, and if it hasn't been executed, we can always go ahead and manually execute it. In case of custom functions or custom schedules, and even webhooks.
So there is another question. Is there any limit on in-app notification?
Just a moment. I'm having technical difficulties.
It's okay, just answer. Is there a limit on in-app notifications?
So you can create as many in-app notifications as possible, but however, the workflow rule is limited in this case. So we have 10 rules per transaction per transaction per module.
So, if my understanding is right, you can create as many in-app notifications, but
Yes.
then there is a module level workflow triggers.
Yes, we have a limit when it comes to the workflow triggers, which are set up according to your plan.
Right. I can see that a lot of people are still taking up the test. Meanwhile, I would really recommend all of the attendees to post questions if you have any. This is the right opportunity. If you've felt that there is too much of manual work with regards to any of the modules, then you can post your questions to Ananya, and she might have an suggestion to make things automated. So it could be as simple as an email alert or an in-app notification. I'm sure you guys will be able to set it up by yourself. But if it is something complex and you just want to see if it could be automated, just to save some time, then all your questions, all your queries could be answered now. So this is a good opportunity. Okay, Ananya, we have a question. Sridharan is interested to know if the basic module has the automation functionality.
I'm sorry, I'm not really sure about what he means by basic.
The basic plan of Zoho
Yeah,
Inventory.
so our automation module, we would have the access to automation module only for the premium and elite plans in Zoho Inventory.
Right. So Tofine has posted another question. Guys, I would really recommend if everybody posts your questions on the questions tab, we can leave the chat section for interactions. But questions on the questions tab. But Tofan has a question. He's asked, automation can be done in bulk invoicing for sales orders. Can we bulk convert a sales order? I mean, sales orders to invoice. Is it possible through automation?
Yeah, so automation can be done in bulk invoicing for sales orders. So as we had mentioned, a custom button can be created and we can have the logic done. So on bulk selection of invoices, we can automatically, bulk selection of sales orders, we can automatically create invoices. And we would recommend you do it in a small number to avoid any limit restrictions or, any overlapping of occurrence here. So we normally 5 orders perhaps to be on the safe side. So you can select 5 sales order at a time and proceed with creating invoices.
Okay, so we have a rather interesting question here from Venugopal. How to send the reordering point data to multiple users? As he has tried and he's not able to send only the data. I mean, he's only able to send the data to super admins. Can he send it to the rest of the users as well?
So the reordering point data, if you're sending it via custom functions, and you would be able to send it to multiple users as well. So you, based on that, we can have that scripted and done.
Okay. Another question from Apurva Goyal would be, I need to schedule a one-time task to convert a set of sales order to invoice. The filter criteria for sales order is based on date. Only sales order between particular dates should be converted to invoice. Do you think schedulers could be used in this case?
So I believe if my understanding is right, I believe this is a one-time execution. So even if we can just write a logic and based on that, we can manually execute a custom function script as well as a one-time task and run it if that's the case.
Great. I hope that answered your question, Apurva Goyal. And yeah, so Chidambaram Tyagarajan has a question. trying to send automated messages via SMS and WhatsApp for creation of invoice and receipt. I've got the template approved and have tied up with third party for SMS and WhatsApp. I'm not a developer, so is it possible for me to configure and make it happen? So Chidambaram has, as he mentioned, he might not have the technical expertise to set something like a webhook. Webhook is not very complex, but still, you might need some sort of an assistance when it comes to setting up a connection between Zoho Inventory and a third-party application, right? So in those kind of cases, that is where expertise of Ananya or Darshan would come into picture. You can write to our support email address, which we will be posting on the chat box right now. And this way you can reach out to the team, and we will help you with implementing these kind of workflows. Be it a small automation or a complex workflow, try to get in touch with our team, and we will be able to help you in setting it up. So, Mr. Chidambaram, the answer to your question is yes. We will be able to help or guide you in setting up this particular workflow for sending SMS and WhatsApp creation for invoice and receipt. And yeah, there are a couple of more questions, guys. We will take up questions for 5 more minutes. I really believe that you guys are taking up the tests that we had posted. I already see a lot of entries that have come in. But if you haven't taken up the test that we launched previously, I would really recommend you to do that. Meanwhile, me and Ananya, we are taking up the questions that you guys have posted. And the next question is from Tofan again. My organization used inventory from past 1 year. We are doing invoicing manually for 27K sales orders. There is no support from the Zoho team. So, Mr. Tofan, we need more clarity. Do you want all of your sales orders to be automatically converted into an invoice? If that is the case, we could have implemented a custom function for you. But if you've missed the invoicing step and you would like to, convert all of these sales orders to an invoice, we still might have a few techniques here and there. You can reach out to our support team again, and we'll be able to look into it and have you assisted. We also have an onboarding team who specifically takes care of such huge numbers. Another question, Ananya, for you is, while creating sales order, we have created date, approved date, and confirmed date. To fetch the data, we have made through webhooks, but we are getting only last confirmed date in records. Is there a way to fetch all status of data? Do you need more
Yeah,
clarity?
I would need more clarity in this case, but please do correct me if I'm wrong. From my understanding, you're only pushing the data after a particular, the data gets pushed according to the last status of that particular order or transaction. But we would actually need more clarity on how you're pushing the data, and so that we can have a better idea of the same.
Right. I think we have time for two more questions. And with that, I would really recommend you guys to post all of your questions to us through an email if your question was gone unanswered. Right. Let me see. Right. When we have multiple items in sales order and back order to vendor, I'm not able to convert invoice if part quantity is received. I think this is rather application level question than an automation question. So yeah, the answer to this would be, right now there are a few restrictions when it comes to the back ordering functionality. We are working on it. Chandrasekhar Rao, you'll get an update from our team very soon. All right, with that, I think it's time, Anya, if you can thank the audience for joining.
Yeah. So I would like to thank all of you for for joining this session. It was really, I hope it was as and I mean you were able to learn from this session as well. So we thank all of you for your time, and please do reach out to us if you have any queries. You can reach out to our support team, and we'll immediately give you a reply on the same. So I hope all of you have a great day.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye bye.
Bye bye.